What's it called? OBS.
All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the second Trash Heap podcast. Are we live? I don't think we're live.
Nah, bro. Have you actually opened YouTube?
Oh, shit. Yeah.
Oh, I
No,
do
we're
see
live.
the.
there you go.
See? Told you we're fucking live. There's
I
just a
see
delay
it.
on all
Yeah.
that shit. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the second episode of the Trash Heap podcast. Today, we are here with Spencer from The Quiet Part. It's not really showing both of us. Why is that?
I know it's supposed to be showing me.
Yeah, what the fuck? It was showing both of us last time.
I just have an intimidating aura on the screen.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
there we go. Yeah, you were just towering over
I know.
us. So yeah, but you are a journalist. You do a lot of similar stuff to what we do, covering protests on the ground in Denver. You make video essays. You make a lot of really cool stuff. You're an educator, a teacher. And you've been kicking around the Denver activism scene for quite some time now. So, Spencer, how you doing today?
I'm good. It's Denver has had some very incomprehensible weather for like the past week.
Yeah.
And that's just like it was winter for like one day, and now it's like hot and extremely sunny out, and you mentioned that I was an educator. So I was a public school teacher in Denver public schools. I specifically taught like science and engineering, and I taught environmental science. And so every time this shit happens, I'm just like, bro, but we're so cooked. I'm like, why is the weather doing this? There's like such a cycle in the local news too of like climate doomerism, and they do it every season, which I guess it's educational and informative, but it's also like, I know that the weather's fucked. Like, I knew that. I'm good.
Yeah.
I've been good.
It was the most intense winter, May snowstorm in 23 years.
Yep.
Most intense May snowstorm in 23 years. That's absolutely crazy. I guess the biggest May snowstorm that happened was back when I was 1 year old. So, and I don't think you were even alive for.
Yeah, no.
So.
Am I older than both of you? Well, I don't want to dox anyone's ages, but I'm 27. Am I older than both of you?
You're only 27?
Only 27? I thought that's old.
I thought you were like total unk status. I thought you were like 32.
No.
Well, 26.
No,
you just gotta
let's-
wrap it up. Just start calling yourself 30 now.
I'm sorry.
It's
I'm
over. I'm
sorry.
retired.
I'm projecting because I'm 24 and I feel like really down on
Okay.
myself for that.
So I just
No, I'm
wanted
ancient.
to really quickly sort of describe some of the videos you make. So a lot of your video essays I'd kind of describe as like intelligent, informed, but like deeply affected, insane rants about modern politics. Did I get that right?
Yes. Yeah, and like what's so interesting about like the collective of my work or content is like I refuse to do like any one thing. I keep jumping. I'm like, okay, I want to do, independent journalism, news station level protest documentaries and activism documentaries.
And then you're making
other
a
times-
shit post about Luigi.
Yeah. And then I'm just singing like an MCR cover, and like I don't know. I started the channel 3 years ago probably when I was still teaching full time, and I'm a burnt out teacher. Like I'm a classic public school teacher that burnt out. Mostly due in part to just being extremely angry with the public education system. Not like the private one is better, but like it's just totally fucked, right? And I was teaching full time, and I wasn't getting like the cognitive stimulation I wanted from teaching. It wasn't like high level enough, even with like high schoolers and upper level courses. And that's not like a them thing. It's the fact that like the curriculum was so organized and required and structured that I wasn't actually getting to do any good conversations with these kids. It was all cut and dry and boring as hell.
Do you
and
think
so
like
I had
if you
all
work
these...
with high schoolers with your own curriculum, you'd be able to have, a better experience?
Oh, I did. I got to the last year I was teaching, and I kind of got my own curriculum, and it was way better, but there was still just all of these annoying things. And so I was in this position where it was like, I'm so frustrated with the public education system, and I'm so bored of not getting to have serious conversations that I just got a camera and started yelling at it. And then I just kept doing that, and I realized that, like, oh, if I use the camera as an excuse to go learn a topic, I can keep myself entertained forever. And I guess maybe some people can go look at it. But it's always been a very me thing. Like, I just do it because I want to.
I'll say, we were on a pretty similar trajectory. It was just like one day we were like, man, we're fucking bored. Let's make a YouTube video out of this protest that Johnny did.
It was pretty good. It was pretty good. I don't know. Are you familiar with our first video?
No, I mean, I don't even know.
Have you seen the Ronald Captain America McDonald clip?
What?
All right, I'll drop the lore on you, and for anybody watching, I dressed up as an American clown with those big mischief red clown boots, full like, American flag garb, and like big Ronald McDonald style wig and a clown nose, and we got 2 tickets to a Hillary Clinton speech. So I went in there. Oh my
god, the thumbnail for this is peak. This is the funniest fucking thumbnail. This is incredible. Sorry. Okay.
What is I think the full title is Ronald Captain American McDonald dunks on Hillary.
Dunks on Hillary.
Or the cognitive dissonance of Blue MAGA.
Dissonance. Whoa! What a jump! It's
because what ended up happening is I go in there dressed as this clown and I yell, "Hillary Clinton, you're complicit in the genocide of the Palestinians." Whole crowd boos. Cameraman gets tackled to the ground by someone in the crowd. Secret Service is like, "You're under arrest," and I book it out of there in the clown booths. Somehow my cameraman also manages to get out.
What? That was your first video? That's a crazy thing to start.
And the first video was just like all it came from was this this vertical clip of just me yelling at Hillary Clinton, and we built a huge video around it. Then
out of it, yeah.
We didn't get some video out until like March of next year. That one came out in like October 2024. Then we started uploading more consistently around March of 2025
Wow, I should have checked out some of these older videos. These are actually pretty, like, the Don't Be the Joker one actually sounds very interesting.
That one is interesting. That one's a lore drop.
The thing I like about all y'all's work, like, collectively is, like, it's similar to mine, but then it's different in ways that are extremely entertaining to me. Like I get to actually enjoy it. Like I remember the North Denver fire one. I'm looking at the channel right now. I fucking love how you press the news people a little bit and just seeing them clutch their pearls and freak out because someone is behaving like just ever so slightly out of their definition of social norm is fucking hilarious. Like it's entertaining and it's actually like it causes you to reflect a little bit and be like, JoJo's literally just like chilling.
I was an annoyance on their job, but he shoved me.
Yeah,
I mean,
like
the most I've ever gotten is shoved, but
yeah, that one was actually very entertaining. Also, like, it's been a crazy. 2 months ago, literally, this whole city, like every other day, there was more fire fear mongering. Which, like, there's some good behind that. There's like some actual. The foothills are catching. Okay, that's like an actual wildfire now. But it was like, I don't know what was going on, but people's cars were just like catching on fire once a day for like 2 weeks straight downtown. I don't know what the hell's going on. And then, yeah, the news crews are just like, we're documenting this brush fire downtown-ish near, and it's... I just think anything that causes people to, like, put a mirror up to, like, daily life is a good thing. And I think if you can goof around and have fun while doing that, I think that's, especially good.
It is.
So I just like that video.
It's how we're dealing with the new political meta. We kind of goof around it. But today we're going to actually try and be like, what are we kind of dancing around here? What are the horrors we're kind of poking at and prodding at? And
then also, like talking about like the Denver political scene, because, we're both there in a lot of these activist circles, like watching what's happening. And like, you're making, pretty serious videos about these protests, just like talking to people. Yep. We do a lot of the same work for that. We try and make it like more fun, but, there's just something about that like, a lot of people I've heard have said like, it feels a little pointless sometimes. It feels like we're just kind of protesting for protesting's sake, you know?
Absolutely. I like that sentiment. I think that sentiment, and honestly, like the broader conversation about like absurdism in 2026 and how that's kind of gotten into the youth culture. Like my whole job for the longest time has been working with teenagers. Like I'm locked in a room with teenagers for 8 hours a day every day. That was like my job, right? And so I got to put like my finger on the pulse of youth American culture for like the past like 6 years that I've been in classrooms.
So you were on like ground zero for 6-7.
Oh my God! Don't no. I remember demure and mindful. I remember the Andrew Tate years when he was really going off. I had a kid when I was teaching in Douglas County who was so far down the Andrew Tate rabbit hole, you would not believe it. He was like in the middle of like a class of 30, and we'd be working on group stuff, and he'd just be like, "Man, I genuinely hate women." And like there's a table of girls across the room, and I'm like, ladies, what's the consensus? Like, what's the consensus on this?
Let's
like,
have a reasonable debate about this, everybody.
Yeah, and they just completely like destroyed this kid for what he was saying. With good, actually, I completely support community accountability, but I've been there in kind of having my finger on the pulse of how America's teenagers have been affected by just everything that's happened. And one thing I constantly use to like ground myself to prevent myself going boomer, going boomer. But to prevent myself from getting out of touch is I remind myself that like an average teenager today has pretty much never known a time before Trump's first term and all of the cultural shifts that came with that. Their literal entire childhood has been like punctuated by just insane bullshit the entire time. And so I can remember a time before that. Like I was born in 1998, so I was like 9 or 8 when Obama got into his first term, and I remember that like there was this very liberal normative like consistency of that time period. And one, I was a child, there's nostalgia to that, but two, politics was more hidden before Trump kind of brought things out with his insaneness. Which, I mean, that gets into like accelerationism of like, was Trump, poking the bear a good thing? I mean, I'd rather he not have been the one to do it.
But was he the accelerant, or was there something else?
Yeah, all of that is very interesting, but the absurdism is interesting. What I like about Trash Heap is I actually enjoy the absurdism. I enjoy the sort of like, it's a deconstruction of normal journalism. And the reason that mine ended up being so kind of normative is because I'm like such a moralistic, like just asshole. Everything, I moralize the shit out of everything, and I'm always like prioritizing shit. And so when I went to start making videos, my biggest priority with protests was like, how can I capture this as neutrally as possible while also completely disclosing that I am a fucking anarchist? Like, how do I do both of those things? And so my videos ended up taking on this tone of like talking with people and being behind the camera sometimes. So like I have a rule where it's like I have to decide before protest coverage if it's one of two things. Is it a commentary video or is it a documentary video? And I have to choose and stick with it. And commentary videos, I have a goal, I have a thing that I want to learn by talking with people. My opinion gets brought in, it gets mixed and matched with the people I'm talking to, and I get to show the world kind of the interstitch in the conversation that comes from that. Whereas the documentary ones, the goal is to just take a nice camera and go film stuff. Because long before I was any of these things, before I was a teacher, before I made YouTube videos, I just was a kid with like a camera that just liked taking photos and videos of shit. And I actively enjoy the process of like capturing it and finding beauty in it. Even like the crazy shit. There's like this one scene where like that one Capitol, there's like, I know the damn faces of the fucking police at this point. I hate that. Like I genuinely hate that. But like fucking know their faces. I don't know their names because I don't talk to them. But there's this one tall dude. Dude's fucking like 6'4". He's a Capitol Hill police something. It's like that's his like place where he's stationed. And there's this one video where like he's trying to like break up the crowd and let a bus through or something. And somehow someone successfully put like fuck ice on a sticky note on the back of his vest, and he's walking around, and I'm directly behind him getting this, and I'm like, this is art. I'm like experiencing art right now. Like, this is insane.
That's pretty perfect. You know,
Yeah.
just talking sort of about like, you know, the absurdism, the art angle. It feels like, you know, at a lot of these protests, like, it feels like a lot of people are there to just kind of show up. And then there's like this extra crowd that's there to try and like make the protest more serious. Like
Direct action, right?
Yeah, like European
Yeah.
protests or something. But,
Yes, yeah. I'm always trying to like think of the best word to be fair, and like I blur the lines so hard. Like, part of the reason I don't like using the word journalist for myself very often is because I think the average person thinks of a journalist as like mainstream media. And I think it's beautiful and important to try to reclaim the term, but I just like, I'm a propagandist. Like, that's fundamentally what I am. I'm a person who is here to highlight something that isn't being highlighted enough. I'm a propagandist. I'm someone who's here to capture and communicate shit. But that crew, I generally just say, like, that's the Black Bloc crew.
I call them the partisans because that seems to be how they refer to themselves. So I just use
Interesting.
that. I mean, there may be some unaffiliated Black Blockers, but it seems to be that's, you know, one kind of node in the broader Denver political meta to note is the Colorado partisans of the Front Range. I describe to them to westward.
Oh, the Front Range Patrol. Yeah, the Front Range, like the Front Range carry guys? Or do you just mean, like, more broadly as
I don't
partisans?
think they're I think the Front Range, I don't know if the Front Range carry guys might be a separate entity. This
Yeah,
is
that is
specifically
yeah.
Colorado partisans of the Front Range. They're the guys who try and lead people to the highway at every protest.
Oh, interesting. I think I'm like, right, with the whole, like, I'm a journalist, I also just think of myself, it used to be like my title on YouTube is like, I'm just an activist with a camera, because I'm not like walking to document them, I'm walking with them. You know, and I kept finding myself as time went on that I'm with that Black Bloc crew. I'm with the group that has masks up. I'm with the group that is going to take the highway, that might be burning flags, that might be, you know, not just singing and dancing, but actually trying to get attention somewhere that isn't sanctioned. You know, they're trying to... something I've been like wishing to see more of with the protests around the Capitol area is for people to actually go the fuck into the Capitol Hill neighborhood where the human beings are, and, you know, like, be present and be seen and like have conversations, because I've seen a few where they'll start marching what would be eastward from the west steps of the Capitol building, and they'll snake through the neighborhood, and I get all of these shots of people hanging off of their balconies, their balconies, looking down at the crowd and like vaping or smoking or eating fucking a bowl of ramen, and they're just kind of present with the weird group of people. And to them, it's definitely just a weird random group of people. But occasionally, there was this one time, I forget when it was, but it was this one time when I was following everyone, and it just started dumping buckets of snow this past year. And there was like a black family that was like literally just out on their lawn chilling before we showed up. And then we showed up, and everyone just started talking like, with them. And they're like, yeah, nah, fuck that. Like, they're having conversations and sharing opinions, and like, that's what I think the outcome of a protest could usually and should usually be, to share a message and then actually communicate with people in your community. But I think that gets into the question of like, at every protest, you guys have seen this pattern too. There's like such obvious patterns where it's just like, okay, there are the daytime people who are going to do their thing. They're going to give speeches. They're going to do chants. They're going to sing.
They're going to dance the fascism away.
Yes, and then the second the sun goes down, it's a completely different world all at once. But the second the sun goes down, it's completely different. The people that are left over are now a different kind of demographic. And I don't mean that in like the ethnicity way. I just mean like as a group, they're a different group, kind of. And then the police act completely fucking different. The millisecond that the sun starts setting, shit goes completely sideways. Never because of the fucking people. And all the time that I've ever done this, I can only say that like I've seen one protest where maybe you could say the collective like caused an escalated. Like one fucking time out of like 100. The other 99 times, it was always the fucking cops. The second the sun goes down, it's the same shit.
Yeah.
But the issue is like, go ahead.
I was going to ask if you can speak to specifically the cop experience you saw with them witnessing the protesters trying to occupy an intersection about a month ago.
Oh shit, oh my god, that was so insane. I'm happy you're alive. Like, that shit was, I've never seen something like that. And I've seen so many times where groups about that size, like 50 to 100 people, are able to block a road. It could be Lincoln, it could be Broadway, it could be any of these busy roads here in Denver. And what, I don't know what the fuck was going on. Every car that passed by genuinely was trying to kill someone. Like, they were purposely plowing through protesters. And then there were a couple of cops that rolled up onto Civic Center Park with their cruisers, and they were just kind of standing out there, either holding their vests like this or doing the old, you know what I mean, just kind of rubbernecking at the protesters. And then a car literally hits someone, genuinely hits someone. They're on the hood of the car, and then the cops just kind of stand there.
Yeah, they go, like, what, like 30, 40 feet?
Yeah! And then that happens, and I just scream, "Do your fucking job," or something like that. I said, like,
I think they went more like 50, 60 feet, honestly. They went a good distance, like...
No, they hit a motherfucker in front of the police, and I know, you know what sucks about, because I've done a lot of video essays on policing and the constitutionality of policing and how that actually plays out. I got a hold of the Denver Police Department's Standard Operating Procedures Manual, which is like a 900-page document that outlines how to enforce almost every single municipal code and law, and like how to do it. But it was an old one. There's an amended one, and I couldn't do anything with it because I wanted the newest one if I was going to like stream it or something. But I'm so familiar with how policing works because of how critical I am of policing that I know 100% why those cops didn't do anything. They're like, it's not our call. It needs to be assigned to us by dispatch. That's it. But like, what the fuck is the point of your existence then, bro? Like, genuinely, like, what is like...
Where do you draw the line where, like, oh, what if they see, like, a motherfucker get shot? Do they have to wait for dispatch then?
So the thing is, the Supreme Court ruled in Castle Rock versus Gonzalez that policing, they ruled one thing, but one of them was that policing fundamentally in America is one special word that changes everything. Policing is discretionary, meaning that a police officer is never obligated to enforce the law at every opportunity, and instead it is a choice that is made with discretion. The defense for this in the Supreme Court at the time, and among politicians and political theorists, just, you know, this goes back far longer than just the one decision 20 years ago, but the explanation is like, well, policing has to be discretionary because otherwise, you know, cops will have to pull over every single car that's speeding. And I'm like, you can't call yourself the greatest country in the world and be like, it's too hard to figure out a middle ground. I can't do it. It's too hard. They have to pull over everyone, or they have to be okay watching mom get murdered. How do we do it? Guys, like, what do you mean that we can't square this circle? This is such an obvious circle to square. Like,
it should be like so much more obvious. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. It should have been the cops are like, yes, the protesters are technically breaking the law by occupying a roadway, but that's a nonviolent crime, and hitting a motherfucker with a 2,000-pound vehicle is a different category. Okay, let's go get them, right? But then, like, as me being, like, on paper, and this is how I work out in so many ways, like, I know eventually someone is going to find me and be like, you're a rad lib. I get it. I would actually, instead of being pissed, I'd be like, no, I don't agree, but I really can't fight that too hard because on paper, like, I'm a police abolitionist. I genuinely want none of this shit ever again. Like, I actively want that. But I also am like, that guy just hit someone with a car. Are you going to do your fucking job or what? Like, genuinely, what is the point of you? What is the point of you?
Why are we paying for you?
Weird ass. What? And I remember researching this. Guess what? In every capital state, every state capital in the entire country, the city that is the state's capital, all 50 of them, the number one expenditure for the city is the police force. Hundreds of millions of dollars. In at least, you know, like 95% of, because like Anchorage, Alaska is different. They have like no money, so it isn't that much money. But all of the big state capitals, all of those cities' local governments, the number one expenditure on the top of the list is policing every time. And it's like 70% of the budget. It's massive. Like Denver's, for example, was literally like hundreds of millions of dollars, if I remember correctly.
And
where the fuck is this money going?
and you know, like it kind of makes you think, like going back to like sort of these groups here in this city, like it doesn't seem to like matter particularly for like, you know, the actually important governmental work, like, you know, allocating a budget. It doesn't actually like matter per se whether or not you live in like a Republican or a Democrat city. Like even though we have like a pretty big protest scene that goes out there, I want to say like every other week at this point, it doesn't seem to like affect the kind of change that people are looking for.
No, I completely agree with moving the conversation around protesting from one of like, and I think the average American, and it's hard to talk about the average American, but I try to use what little normie I have left in me to understand the average person, especially like as like a civil servant that works with the public. I try to get it. I think the average American has like two opinions about protests. Number one, they literally do nothing, and like the only people showing up to protest are unemployed, just wackos. So they just think protests are a thing that are done by unemployed wackos that achieve literally nothing, or people think that protests just are like propaganda. They're advertisement for a politician or a party or a policy, right? I think it's really important that we move the conversation to like, dude, that is not the actual. I'd say, yeah, like most people show up to protest with the hope that they can share a message and convince voters to move in a direction, right? I think that's what a lot of the conscientious protesters are doing. They're like, I'm going to share a message, I'm going to make it apparent, and hopefully that moves the polls a little bit or something, right? That's likely what protesters are doing in many cases. But I've now learned that protesting is genuinely just an opportunity to organize with other people in your community. It is a tool for connecting with other people.
When we take advantage of that tool.
Go ahead. Yes. And when we don't, you just have to hope that you're achieving something by getting people's attention. And I don't think that's like a worthless pursuit. That's why I'd rather protesters like go into the neighborhoods and like, you know, shake hands with their neighbors and have fucking conversations. And not in a, do you support killing babies way? You know, like just walking up to strangers and being like, this person supports killing babies. Do you support that? No. It's like, hey, I just want to let you know, I'm like your neighbor 2 miles down the road. I just came out here today because like, this is bad. What are your thoughts on that? And they'll be like, it's pretty bad. And then you have a conversation. Like, Denver is so libbed up already that like 85% of the work has already been done for you for having conversations with people. Because I was born in Cincinnati, Ohio. Specifically, I lived most of my childhood in the same hometown as J.D. Vance in Middletown, Ohio. His family worked at the same steel mill that my father worked at, and my father's father worked at, and all this sort of shit. And so I've seen what red looks like. Holy shit. So much of the work has already been done in Denver, where it's like, if you can just be pro-social, the opposite of anti-social, if you can just be pro-social and like shake hands with other people, you can make like immense amounts of things happen. Whether that be like shifting polls if you're super into electoralism, or if you're just about like improving the community itself and making it more resilient. Like a word, that's a buzzword I use in my scene a lot, right? With all these solar punk and environmentalist people. Resiliency, yeah. Like, how do you develop community resiliency? That could be in terms of infrastructure, right? Do you have mutual aid networks put together? Like General Strike US, General Strike US is such an interesting organization, but they have a big emphasis on like, we can't do a general strike until we've built mutual aid networks and people can cover each other's asses.
And for the audience who doesn't know, what is a general strike?
Oh, let me tell you. I have a video essay on this. A general strike, everyone knows what a normal strike is let's take a steel mill, for example. My father went on strike many times through the union when I was a kid. A normal like steel mill strike is when all the workers stop working until certain demands are met, usually in the form of outcomes in an employment contract that is built through the union, right? A general strike is when every motherfucker in the community is just like, I'm not working until basic quality of life things are happening. and I'm not going to work until those needs are met, and I will crash the entire economy and screw over this entire city until that happens. And so a very famous one is the one that took place back in like 1886, I think, or 1860 something, 1868, I can't remember. But it's the origin of International Workers' Day and May Day. There was a general strike in Chicago, Illinois. The police officers at the time were genuinely killing protesters like left and right for this.
God.
The protesters were pretty aggro, like admittedly. The history shows that. But the thing that they were protesting for, and they were generally striking for, meaning everyone in your community stops working, the thing they were striking for was a 40-hour work week. Like 2 days off. That's what they were striking for. And police were killing motherfuckers over this. Until someone got pissed and threw like a pipe bomb at police.
Oh, the Haymarket
And then
affair.
yeah, the Haymarket affair. And then the police shot back. It was a whole thing. And they executed like a bunch of dudes that some of them were literally labeled anarchists, like self-labeled. And a few of them were just kind of randos. And they were all labeled anarchists, and they weren't just like executed, they were hung by the neck until dead, like publicly. There's like a square in Chicago where like their dead bodies were hanging from ropes for being anarchists, for wanting a 40-hour work week. So general strikes have been shown through American history, through world history too, that like when motherfuckers do it correctly, it works. But it never goes smoothly. Like, people died the last few times we've done it. And when you do a normal strike, much less a general one, you have to do it such that everyone has enough money saved to not die in the meantime. But,
And
you know,
nobody has
hypothetically-
money nowadays.
Go ahead.
Not just like, and sometimes you can't
no,
just
we're
throw
totally
money
good.
at it. You know, the Black Panthers had, you know, community ambulances, you know. You're an educator who's frustrated with the public school system. You know, we might need alternate forms of education and childcare.
Oh, I teach kids for free, absolutely. I'd do that for fucking, that'd be awesome. I mean, to some degree, like, this YouTube channel is me getting to do that, except I'm not stuck to only teaching science. I can teach political theory and history and make stuff like that. Yeah, I do that. Yeah, I do that at the drop of a hat. That'd be sick. But that's what a general strike is. And General Strike US is like an organization that says that they're working towards an American general strike for the first time in like 100 years. And it's really iffy to know like if they're going to work towards anything and actually make it happen. Like, I'm a necessarily critical person. So I'm like, I don't know, guys. Like they don't even need that many people to do it. They always cite this like 3.5% number or whatever it is. I think it's like 3.5 or something.
Yeah, 3.5,
There's-
11.9 million.
Yeah, the magic number, right? I mean, listen, if Americans pulled off a general strike even just a little bit, yeah, the whole country would fall apart in like 2 days. Like, our economy is so fickle and so fragile and so not resilient that like gas was like $4.80 2 days ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I saw a damn gas station and I like died for a second in my head.
In California,
I was like,
there
what
was
is
a
this?
7-Eleven with gas that was $7.11.
Yeah.
Great.
It just kind of makes me like stare at my car and be like, do I even need this thing anymore? Is there like a point?
I use my e-bike more than ever. I take an electric skateboard to work recently. I do a few different things for work. I work as a substitute teacher in DPS because I unironically, and this is how you know I'm insane, I unironically do enjoy teaching. I genuinely enjoy like connecting with young people and like helping them learn shit. It's unironically fun to me, which that's just how you know like I'm not normal. But then I also have like a small engineering business where like I build little 3D printed parts for like laboratory equipment. But the way that I get to all of these school buildings is usually an electric skateboard because fuck paying for that.
Real.
But goddamn, $5 gas in Denver.
I wanted to go back on something you mentioned. You mentioned that you're like in sort of the solar punk scene. You've made like a couple video essays about it, and I'm just kind of curious, like, what is solar punk about? Like, what got you into it too?
Sure, that's a super appropriate question for this podcast because it did, you know, as much as you could say that I have like a niche on YouTube, which God I hate niches on YouTube. Solar punk is definitely one of like my biggest personal interests. So solar punk is a political and aesthetic movement that imagines a better future where instead of continuing the the tenets of being dependent on oil and gas and fossil fuels. We instead move towards a world that is more hopeful and more sustainable, based on renewable energy. But like the philosophy that renewable energy represents, one where like solar panels, for example, are a decentralized form of power generation. Every house can have their own power system, and it's a meshed federalized network of power. What does that represent to people, right? So solar punk is essentially the opposite of cyberpunk. Though it depends if you're talking about like the genre in writing versus like the aesthetic and how people live it in the real world. Those are a little different. Cyberpunk is low-key what we live in genuinely at this moment. Like ever since I started covering Palantir, I'm like, no, we do very much live in a cyberpunk dystopia, like right now actually. But cyberpunk is like technology and capitalism go absolute full tilt, late stage. They go crazy, and the world gets worse. And it's up to the job of the main character to fight off the corporations and pipe bombs and shit, which is like the plot of the cyberpunk games. That is cyberpunk, which imagines the world gets worse because shit gets bad. And then solarpunk is like, yo, what if things get better? What if we do literally the opposite of all of those things as much as we can? And, instead of letting capitalism get worse, what if we like change our economy to, instead of focusing on a profit, it focuses on like human well-being? And like, what if instead of depending on fossil fuels, we like focus on renewables? That's what solarpunk is. It's utopianism. It truly is. And my interest has become, how can I take this utopian idea and bring it into the real world in 2025 and 2026? Because I have all these videos of like, I mentioned I ride an electric skateboard to work. Before that, it was an electric bike. Well, I'm a fucking science teacher that teaches science and engineering. I'm pretty sure I could solar power this thing if I felt like it. And so I did. I built like a solar charging station. And for like a year of my life, I commuted 100% off of solar power, which was like kind of tough. Like I thought that was sick.
Should go back to it.
Solarpunk is, I know, it takes a lot of power for like a bigger bike and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just started asking myself this question of like, this is cool, this is motivating, this is exciting. The first reason I ever got into solarpunk and got interested in it was specifically because I was still teaching science, and I was coming up to my climate change unit for like the third time. And every time I come up to it, the entire room is just like, we should just die. The entire room of teenagers is just like, low-key, we should just give up. And I'm like, I get it. And solarpunk is so interesting because it's like, when you look at it and you learn about it, it's so inspiring, but it's so far-fetched and ridiculous that like you can't take it seriously. You can't do what do you call it when you're like watching a movie and you separate yourself enough to
suspension of belief.
Yeah, solarpunk. You look at it and it's pretty, and you want to watch a Studio Ghibli film and just relax and think about a better world, but like you can't take it seriously because you can't imagine a single thing in your local community that actually looks like that unless you're looking. And so I thought, like, I'm going to try to bring it into the real world. I'm going to try to do real projects like slapping solar panels on a trailer for my e-bike and then taking that shit to get groceries for a year. Or community gardens, for example. Like Denver Urban Gardens is one of my favorite organizations in this whole city. The story of the garden, the community garden that I got a plot in, is so cool because it's just this old dude. Like, he was like a 60s hippie, essentially. He passed away this past couple of years ago, and he was in his late 70s, so he lived a long life. He was just this hippie punk rock motherfucker that had, like, a empty plot of land next to the house. And he's like, I should put seeds in that shit. And then he did it. And then his neighbors were like, yo, can I put seeds in it? And he's like, well, it's not mine. Put seeds in it. Let's do it. And then they all watered their shit. And then the local government came in and was like, you have to stop this. We're gonna do something. And he's like, bet, do it. And he did that for like 20 years. They were always like, you're breaking this code, you're breaking that code. And he's like, I don't give a fuck. And he just kept planting. And now it's like an acre large community garden with an orchard of stone fruit trees that the local community gets to eat every year. Because some dude was like, fuck off, I don't care. That's so punk rock. Like, I learned that by going to the garden and meeting him.
That's crazy.
That shit is so great.
badass.
That kind of reminds me, people in Colorado like to do stuff on their own. We've got a castle that was built down south, like near Pueblo, Bishop's Castle, I believe. Guy was getting letters for years and years from the city telling him, like, this is a safety hazard, knock it off. And you go up and it is a safety hazard. Like, there are literal missing stairs in there.
Genuinely.
But people just walk around it, and the government never did anything.
Yep. Colorado, like, I did it's crazy. I've been doing this channel for years, and it's so political, but even I'm one of these assholes, one of these pseudo-intellectual asshats that's like, not everything is political, like, everything is political, but also nothing is political. I'm one of those assholes. But I finally did the stupid four corners quadrant political test thing.
I watched that.
It reminded
video.
me. Yeah, I can't believe I had never thought to do that by now, because I'm like, the channel is called The Quiet Part because it's all about highlighting ideas and conversations that aren't being highlighted enough, especially with regards to circumstances where power is obfuscating a truth about something, saying the quiet part out loud when you're not supposed to, right? And my whole thing is like transparency. I tell people, here are like my values, just so you know. I'm like a crazy anarchist, and like these are the things I care about. And so that transparency is super important. And yet I had never thought to do the stupid political test to show people, like, where's your dot? Oh, it's like here.
I want to make this video so bad, but like I want to go into like why those political tests like blow so much. Like that four corners political compass is
It's
like
not that useful.
it's like ice pick in my brain when I like see people like use that as like real analysis, and I'm just like over here dying.
It seems
I actually liked the questions. Some of them were written, because I got my minor in psychology, and there was a big focus on learning how to do surveys for psychological surveys. It was written, like, it's written okay, like as a survey, but the actual like system of doing the quadrant thing is so dumb, because one, you've got like horseshoe theory people, which there are aspects of that are useful, there are aspects of that are not useful. And then, libertarian to authoritarian, the word libertarian means nothing in America. It doesn't mean the thing that it could have meant, and it doesn't mean the thing that it probably should have meant.
not only that, but authoritarian. People are psychologically predisposed to not want to identify as authoritarian, even if it's a more accurate representation of their politics.
Yes. And then, like, libertarian, the etymological fallacy is a bad thing, I know, but the etymology of the word libertarian, it first came up in France, and it literally just meant anarchist. That's what it meant. It didn't mean, like, hell yeah, anarcho-capitalism, I want the age of consent to be 10. Like, that's not what it meant. That was never what it meant. It meant, fuck the government, get out of my shit. And not in a, so I can go shoot people way. It's, fuck the government, let me live my life in peace. Like, let me live a fruitful, good life.
So, are you familiar
libertarian
with
doesn't
Greg
mean
by
anything
chance?
Dreg?
Oh
What
my
does that
god,
mean?
he's a political influencer who was an influence on, me when I was first starting the channel. And he took all these political compass memes. He like made a political compass rap, and it blew up, and he was just like, I'm the politics guy now. So he had like all these characters. So it's like the libertarians like, oh, I'm gonna lower the age of consent to 10, and then the commies like, oh, I'm gonna put you in the gulag. And
What
it's just
sucks
so
is that, like, those people are
reductionist.
real. Yes, because, like, it's way more than that sometimes. And the four corners, like, it's just not... I was, like, almost frustrated to see my dot. My dot was super far bottom left, right? And I was like, yeah, but I feel like I don't relate at all to the other green people. Like, at all.
Are
Right?
you
Because
more
a lot
with
of,
the
like, generic
tankies, the red
liberals...
people?
No. I just, like, and I guess this is like the asshattery of anarchists, is I'm like, dude, there are so many things that I fundamentally disagree with liberals on, that, like, I'm like, how are we even in the same universe? Just because we both don't hate gay people doesn't mean we're actually, that's like, we have fundamental disagreements that are, like, significant. And, like, the default is not hating gay people. The disagreement starts after that. Like, But you know,
it
beyond that,
reminds
it's like
me
we're
that
not
we
even
don't
talking.
have any. Peter was talking to me about this concept, the death of utopia. You know, you ask your students about climate change, and they're like, "Guess I'll die." People don't have good
Seriously.
utopian ideas, for the future anymore. There used to be a lot with the rise of science fiction and utopian thinking.
Yep.
We
Yep.
quickly saw science fiction became a lot more dystopian and skeptical. When you ask people, what do you envision for a better world? They might say like, oh, what if the forests aren't on fire anymore? Or, what if I don't get thrown in prison for being, trans or whatever?
And
Yeah.
like that reminded me of, I was watching your like most popular video on like solar punk, and one of the lines you said right at the start is like, you're an optimist like by choice. And so maybe just like to give some people like hope in this world where it feels like everyone's utopian dream has like vanished from their brain. Like what does being an optimist by choice mean to you?
Well, I think of it as like, I really emphasize the punk part of solar punk. And a lot of people who like cyberpunk as a genre and also like a way of understanding the world we actively live in at this moment, the whole point is that there are going to be punk rock people that resist, that fight the power, that speak truth to power, that fight the power, right? With this whole idea of solar punk, it's like, let's envision a better world because we don't live in one. And let's not make our hope this sort of, I contrast it with faith. And that word is a very broad word in America, but faith is a thing that a person has where they're going to have it no matter what on principle, right? That's the whole point of faith, is doing it on principle. Whereas I think hope is something that itself needs to be a form of resilience. Hope is a choice that you make every single day in the face of despair. That's what I think hope really is supposed to be. I put out like a newer video talking about science fiction. And I was talking about three science fiction films, three science fiction works, which are Project Hail Mary and then Iron Lung, which are both modern movies that came out, which are types of science fiction that talk about hope and despair in incredibly different ways. And then I compared it to a third piece of media, which is a video game that I love, which is called Soma.
Oh, that's such a good game. Beautiful
Soma
game.
slaps. Oh my god. And Soma's so interesting because for the audience back home, Soma's a video game about a dude who gets a brain scan, and his brain scan wakes up at the bottom of the ocean after the world has ended. An asteroid has hit the Earth, and all that's are left are like these laboratories of creepy creatures that are science and whatnot. And he discovers that like almost all the humans are dead, but somebody thought to take everyone else's brain scans and put it in a satellite that we can shoot towards the fucking solar system to get sunlight. And ironically, it's a solar-powered server of human brains. And it's extremely depressing. It's completely despair-ridden. And it's also this silver lining of hope. And so I think hope isn't meant to be this sort of like paint that you greenwash onto everything. Hope is supposed to be a silver lining, where you find that thing and you hold on to it for dear fucking life. Like, I think hope is spiteful. I think it's almost angry, actually. And that's what I want to like model
for. It seems a lot of the time,
right.
If you ask people, what do they hope for, they might say, I want the bad shit in the world to end. But what does a self-actualized world actually mean? Once we actually, if we could even stop the problems of hunger and climate change, like, what then? What do we need something better than just putting fixings on our problems. We need something actually people can reach for to live for, an actual utopic ideal.
One of my like favorite, this is such a like a high school teacher bullshittery, but one of my favorite things to tell my students is like, you can't defeat an enemy that you don't admit exists. Like you can't box a guy while blind and being like, he's not there, he's not touching me, while you're getting the shit kicked out of you, right? So like, we can't address the negative issues in the world by pretending they're not there. And we also can't build towards something better if we don't have a blueprint in mind for where that's supposed to be. And so one of the like political theories I got interested in is this thing called prefigurative politics, which is this idea of like, it's based mostly, like pretty heavily on the Black Panthers. You mentioned the bus routes, and I'm thinking of like Martin Luther King Jr. In Montgomery, they had people running the taxis. Like just, people picking up each other's grandmas because the buses were down during the boycott. That is a form of prefigurative prefigurativism or prefigurative politics. And the simple summary is that prefigurative politics is applying philosophies and practices that you want from the future right now, even if it doesn't make sense. And the whole point is that by doing the thing, it starts to make sense. And it starts to work because you got off your ass and did it. And so my channel has this big philosophy on it, and I'm actually struggling with it. Like in a video this past week, I'm working on a video. This is a big warning. This is a heavy topic, but I'm working on a video on the history of child exploitation and pedophilia and child assault in American history. And it's going to tie to the Epstein files and how it's almost become a meme and like a bastardization of its actual concept.
Yeah,
and I
it's
want
like,
to come back to it
the
like,
Diddy
no.
oil party, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, God.
And like, I will never like be too pissed at kids for making their jokes and doing their things. That's how they make sense of the world. But for adults to just write this off as like, oh yeah, you know, everyone knows they're pedos. Okay, do something about it. What the fuck? What are you, like, you're not taking this seriously just because you're used to it. But that video I'm working on right now, I have a rule where as much as possible, my videos have to be filmed outside and in public. And the reason for that is it's a form of prefigurative politics. I believe in a world where we take our politics out of our computers and outside in front of our neighbors, like having conversations. And in the course of doing so many of these videos where I'm downtown or I'm at a park, I'll have people hear me saying what I'm saying and come up to me and talk to me. And we have these like great productive conversations, and I get to learn people's stories and shake their hands, and like, I'm just insane because I love that. I love connecting with people. And I know not everyone's like that, and I don't even think we should, you know, if we're working to a world where we truly like address ableism, we have to admit that some people are not like me. Some people don't want to shake every fucking hand they see. But I like that idea, and I'm working on this video about this really heavy, disgusting topic, and I'm like, yeah, I could record the video at home in the studio here at this microphone, but then I'm just kind of reinforcing that I'm keeping these topics behind closed doors, literally. I'm keeping them somewhere safe, somewhere private, when in reality the history of like liberating women and children from exploitation is about taking it out of the home and opening that door. And so I have this script written, but it's not fun to record in public. I don't even want people to hear me talking about this shit because it's disgusting. But that's like one way I try to prefigure. I try to make sure I am literally touching grass as much as materially possible.
Real shit. Just
yeah.
Real quick, it's Ziaka's thing I like least about the political compass is that it doesn't assess structural understanding. You get it. It's so painful that the political compass like even is like considered like a real metric. Just want to say that.
That was someone in chat, right?
Yeah, that was someone in chat.
Or,
I do. I would love to get into something that we kind of wanted to. It's in the topic of the video. Denver's political meta.
Yeah.
And now,
political meta.
I guess maybe we should try and give some context. So Denver is a city in Colorado that is going through major droughts and fires. We had one of our driest winters yet this year.
It's very, very liberal, but for some reason, every politician still dresses like they're a rancher.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. But
it's the interstitch of liberal and conservative libertarianism, and they have this like weird dance that they do where it's like they try to act like those two things are perfectly compatible, and then the people that you get out of it, the representatives that you get out of it, are just they're pretty they're pretty normal. Like Jared Polis is kind of just a dude, but he has some weird ass policies in his attempt to like make these two things work together. Like he's super pro police. He's super pro like fuck yeah, more AI cameras. Fuck yeah, right? And it's like, what? I'm so confused. I thought you were like the trans rights, freedoms dude. And he's like, I am. More AI cameras. And I'm like, what's going on? Denver's very interesting.
It's something that I'm trying to square my head around, because in my mind, we've kind of got, at the heart of it all is the horrors. And to me, the horrors are the climate crisis. we called it absurdism when we talked about my, North Denver fire video when I walk up and I'm fucking with the news people. But in reality, I tried not to be absurd. I tried to be sobering. I yelled at them. I was like, it's fucking over. We're having fires in winter. The climate crisis is going to kill us all. So,
and for them, it's just another segment. Like, that's just another, and this is me being narcissist again, but it's like the mainstream local news media is so impressively out of touch sometimes that it hurts. And like, they know that the average person watching has gotten used to these wildfires. They've gotten used to this getting worse. They know what's going on, right? But somehow, miraculously, every time they do coverage, they don't mention that, like, no, this is actually going to destroy things. This is going to destroy people's lives. This is going to destroy our city. This is going to destroy our ability to have water. And then they never mention the simplest quiet part to say out loud, which is like, 90% of emissions are done by 70 companies. How you do hundreds of segments on this shit every year, and you're never going to mention the most plain and well-known mechanism underlying why this is happening.
And that is the Denver political meta, in my opinion. I think we're a city with a lot of horrors in its heart. We're very ecologically strained, and yet we've got all these corporations encroaching their wires onto us with all these data centers that are going to drain hundreds of millions of gallons of water per year. And then,
oh my God. Can I pop off for like a millisecond about that real quick?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'm a substitute teacher now, so I don't have a standard science classroom anymore. I'm in different classrooms all the time, and as a sub, I don't have a contract the way I did as a normal teacher, so I don't talk politics or even like science politics, which is important. I don't talk that with students ever. But there's one fucking thing that pisses me off so much about the data center bullshit is when someone claps back with their like, yeah, but like the water just evaporated. It's gone from the pond that it was in, and the fish don't have water. The groundwater doesn't have soil structure. All of the nutrients that were there are they've now precipitated out of solution, and that pond is fucking gone. They're like, yeah, but like the cloud, the water cycle, brother. We didn't teach you this in 3rd grade for you to misunderstand it. Like, yes, the water's going to go somewhere else, but now that local ecosystem has literally collapsed. You've lost biodiversity because of draining this damn pond to evaporate this shit into the sky to take care of the data center. And it just, science miscomprehension in America is horrifying. It is bad. And it's not like alarmism. It's like bad. Where someone would hear that and be like, oh, you're right, I remember the water cycle. It's just going to go back in the ocean. We're fine. You're not fine. You live here. You don't live at the ocean. Like, so go ahead.
No,
but I just like bitching about that.
Excellent pop-off. That was great. But I just, going back to like the political meta, it feels like we have all these problems. And like, so the actual meta is just to make people think like we're the solution to the problems without actually doing anything. It's like the reign of the technocrats.
Yes, yeah, it's very much this matter of like, I'm going to sell you that we're doing something, and then I know you're not going to check if I'm actually doing it once I'm in office. And the fact, and like, I hate to be like, this is not good for class solidarity and just solidarity in general. But no, the average like working person in Denver literally does not have time to occupy their brain space with like, let me read through this ballot measure real quick and make sure it's exactly what they told me it was going to be. The average person doesn't have time, and this is the catch-22 of being not 80 and having $1 million in 2026 America. The catch-22 is that nobody has time to allocate to changing the political system. And because of that, it doesn't change, and yet we are aware that it's shitty. But again, we're all trying to work and not die.
We're trying to uphold the broken system so that we can squeeze it for, whatever drops will keep us alive.
Yeah, but I also feel like I might disagree a little bit on that, and not, maybe disagree is not the right word, but the way that I see it is also just like, people don't want to suffer, and that is human nature is a bad term, but
absolutely.
I recognize it as a common pattern, right? People want to minimize exposure to suffering and displeasure. Another great example of something that gets misunderstood all the time. Y'all remember Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the triangle?
Yeah.
Remember that shit? The whole point of that wasn't that like it had to be in that order. That's like the modern critique of that among psychologists. The whole point of that is that humans want to move up towards something. They want to move away from displeasure and they want to move towards peace, right? That's just fundamentally how humans work. Anything that is displeasurable, we want to move away from. Anything that's pleasurable, we want to move towards. And I don't get like doomery and be like humans are greedy, hedonistic. No, I actually think we're extremely pro-social. I just think that like the system of capitalism is engineered such that it kills all of our pro-social tendencies and makes it so we don't actually organize for a pro-social world.
And yet all these politicians are pretending to be pro-social, go to the baseball games and stuff like that. Put on a smile.
Dude, I voted for Mike Johnson. Is it Johnson or John? It's Johnson, right? Yeah. That's the mayor.
Yes, and we have met with him.
Motherfucker.
And I like the guy.
Yeah,
I like the guy.
As a human, he seems like but also like I could easily be evil and pretending right now. And I low key might be evil. Like but no, I'm just so pissed that like I voted him in and then this shit with Palantir and shit with the flock cameras, he just immediately cucks to the police department. And I'm like, bro, like you marketed yourself as someone who really supports freedom, someone who supports well-being and like people having autonomy and common sense shit that ought to be common sense, but me applying my definition of common sense doesn't help, obviously.
Well, maybe we should tell him.
Yeah, I voted for him. I know. I'm like, dude, it's sad to see. I have this like a complex with radicalization. I know that I'm like pretty far gone to some people. And I also know that to like people in my spaces, like anarchist spaces, I'm like a liberal to them. I might as well be a fucking centrist. I might as well be Barack Obama. Because it's kind of like what you mentioned with the political spectrum shit. Life is way more plural and dynamic than a dot on a matrix. It's way more complicated than that. And so if a person is trying to be nuanced, and I've learned to hate the word intellectual, but if a person is trying to be reasonable, they're going to try to like find the nuanced position in every case. And the side effect of that is you lose your tribe. You don't get to have any one tribe anymore, right? Yeah, I support almost everything that the mayor has put forward. His initiatives have been good. I've supported a lot of them. But also, dude, you are fondling the balls of the police department like crazy on live. Don't do that. Like, why would you do that? Like, you could literally allocate your time into reforming the police department instead, but you're too afraid of them in their union to do anything about it.
So much of their budget could be used to the STAR program, which is a nonviolent mental health response team. And they're highly effective. They would be highly effective if it weren't for the fact that they just don't have the budget for it right now.
They literally don't. And like, I took all these stupid courses on psychology in college. It was to help with becoming a teacher. So it was mostly like developmental psychology and shit like that, and some social working classes. And one of the things you learn in social working, my mother, for example, is a social worker now. She's got like hella degrees that I don't even comprehend. She's super smart. But one of the things you learn is that like, what is the number one determiner of like violence within a community? And it is every single time, and you have to understand this word just economically, the number one determiner of violence and criminality, which is not a useful metric, is poverty. It's literally it's a line. And it's not like correlation, it's causation directly. When people are not having their basic needs met, they will move away from discomfort and towards comfort, however they have to. And so like seeing the local, I can't remember what the number was. I swear to God it was like $800 million. I don't know. But if I recall, our police budget was like, I think that's a number I remember, but I don't know if it's right. Google it, anyone watching after. But I think it was like hundreds of millions of dollars, right? If you were to just allocate that fucking money into helping people afford housing, 70% of the problems that the police are solving would disappear for like 3 decades. You wouldn't even have to invest it that many times. It would just go away because people's needs would be being met. But yeah, to see Mike do that, it's like, brother.
Why do you
Is there
think
anyone who
politicians
just
like
has
Mike are
principles?
making these calls? Like, why are they doing this?
It's because the local police departments are extremely powerful and influential, especially their police unions and the lobbying organizations that they wield with their unions. DPD is like, if you look at the money alone, DPD is its own city. Like, mathematically, the amount of money that they get is equivalent to their own second city of fucking authoritarian pigs. Like, it's like this. They have enough money that they are their own. They're like Parker, Colorado. They're like all of Aurora. They're like their budget alone is equivalent to like Golden, and it's just a city literally of policing. They have incredible amounts of power, and every time, like, here's something I heard, for example. This is really interesting. I was talking. So I've got a cough drop, but I'm doing a weird challenge right now. I've gotten really interested in the past year about performativity and like performative males and like performative liberals and shit, and just the whole culture around it, especially with how teenagers are using the word and how they're shaping its meaning. I got really interested with performativity, and so I'm doing a challenge right now, and I'm 5 months in. I'm doing a challenge where I do 0 online spending. I spend all of my, like, if I'm buying a product, it has to be in person. And I've been doing that for 5 months now after being someone who's bought shit from, like, everywhere forever, including the bad places, like Amazon and AliExpress and shit when I was younger. I'm doing this, and what it forced me to do is it forced me to walk into local businesses and, like, meet the motherfuckers that run them. So, like, there's an electric bicycle shop nearby that sells tubes that I need for my bike. And I walk in, and the owner's just like, "What's up? You want a tour?" I was like, "Sure, I'm bored. Like, that sounds fun." And he takes me around, and he starts talking to me about the Denver Police Department. And he's like, "Yeah, you know, there's this thing in the e-bike community, which that's a thing for some reason. There's this thing where, like, e-bike people, you guys know, there are assholes on e-bikes that are essentially motorcycles that low-key are, like, plowing people on the sidewalk and shit. And then there are people like Whitey here who, like, just rides to work on theirs in the bike lane. Those two groups are, like, not friends. Because as the, like, assholes on motorcycles are feigning as e-bikes, it's causing normal e-bike people to get more regulated by the government. The squeaky gear is getting the grease. And we're all aware of this. This e-bike shop owner, he's talking to me, he's just like, "Yeah, do you know why DPD doesn't arrest anyone for an illegal e-bike?" And I'm like, "I don't know, they're just lazy? Like, what is it?" And he's like, "No, it's because most of them are teenagers, and if they pursue the kids, someone's going to get hit on TV, and the local community is going to get pissed because DPD got that kid killed." And I was like, oh, like, policing is this thing at the nexus of culture and community, and police department's main goal is to do the same thing the politicians are doing, which is to continue killing people without anyone noticing as much as possible. And so I just thought that was really interesting to learn. He at some point asked, like, a police officer, this shop owner's asked a few, he's like, "Why don't you guys go after them?" And they're like, "Well, if we do, a kid's going to get hit, and then everyone's going to be angry at us." And I'm like, "Oh, your, like, goal isn't human well-being. Your goal is to do your job and go home."
Would you say it's accurate that the DPD enforces a form of necropolitics?
What is necro? So I'm making. I mentioned that video about the history of child exploitation, specifically child sexual assault in America. I hate this video, by the way. It's not fun to work on. But it's like, I'm doing it like 4th year bachelor's, if not graduate level. I have like 27 citations, and it's been really complicated. I'm calling the title Pedopolitics, based on the word necropolitics. Fun fact, I have no idea what the word necropolitics means. I know what necro means. Is that like the funeral industry?
So, you know, politics, death, put them together. It's the politics of social control through death.
Yeah, it's like how, like, people's like lives are, like, used by politics to meet political ends.
okay, I already see that. I see that I had this tendency to see everything in like a class reductionist way, as like I grew up super poor in the Rust Belt. Everything J.D. Vance told you and lied about, I actually did that, essentially. That's like kind of what happened. But no, I already see what you're talking about. Like, the average American's conception, for example, of homelessness, right? Like, I'm renting or I own a mortgage and I can barely cover it. The average American literally thinks that being homeless means dying like that week. Like that, and so guess what? There is a fear that is enforced because people think their lives are on the line if they can't afford rent. So that's one example of what I'm trying to understand of this as. It's using the concept of killing and dying and people not wanting that as a way to control people.
Yeah,
I definitely believe that's
cigarettes
happening in
are a
America.
form of
Absolutely.
necropolitics.
Oh. Ooh. Also, like, I'm sure you both have probably maybe heard about this, but like, people are talking a lot about population dynamics in America and the fact that we're slowing down too quickly on birth rates, and the result is that there's going to be a generation of older people with no one to care for them. We're already seeing it. I happen to my sister. Almost everyone in my family is a civil servant of some sort. It's kind of funny. My sister's a nurse who used to work in like hospice work, terminal patients, specifically kids actually, which is like, that's why my sister to me is like beyond human. Like, she's crazy, but she's also worked with elderly people. It is the case, like right now in America, that like old folks homes and like neurodegenerative homes, like Alzheimer's, dementia, those people are genuinely just being like left to die, and they are just in fact dying, and they're just being left there, and they're kind of being ushered towards death almost quickly because they can't be cared for in a traditional capacity anymore. The social safety net has completely fallen through.
Yeah. So I think we've analyzed a lot of the problems. We've got a city built on death, homelessness, and ecological decay. We've got politicians in the pocket of the police who enforce that status quo. Now, I kind of want to analyze a different part of the meta, which is what you could call the resistance to that. How effective you may judge that resistance to be is its own story, but can you tell us about the different political activist coalitions going on in Denver?
Oh, Jesus, there's so many. I've been thinking about doing a series where I interview one person from each, and it's like speed dating. I just don't know if they'd be pissed at me treating them like that.
That's a
but
good
I'm
idea.
thinking about doing
Trash
that.
heap in
I love that idea.
I know. That's my. Oh, okay. You guys help out. It's been such a big thing. I'll say like, here are some orgs that I have spoken to people from and have like gotten along with those people amicably. I can't really say the org, but like the people. I've spoken to some people from General Strike US, which is an organization working towards a nationwide general strike where everyone stops working until, the first thing is like get Trump out of office. The second thing is like universal health care, shit like that, right? They have lists of demands. That's General Strike US. They are both new and kind of old. Like, there are orgs like them that have existed, but they're technically kind of new. Then I know the Democratic Socialists of America. I know a few people from that org who are super chill. Like, it's just random chance, but I've ended up rocking with those people really easily. I'm technically not affiliated with a single actual org. I have helped organize a protest. I have helped route a march before, but I just kind of did that for fun. I don't know, I just kind of felt like doing that. But that's a couple of them. What are some others? FRSO, Freedom Range Socialist Organization. That's one of the red ones. And I mean that like literally their color is red. They're also kind of socialist, communist organization. I see them out a lot. And they're contrasted really well and readily with, good God, I should know the name of the one. You know the classic red one. What?
PSL?
Yes, yeah, Party for Socialism and Liberation. The red ones with the truck. The ones with the truck. They show up to everything. They do their thing. I will say, and this is why I wanted to do a video speed dating all the organizations. I wanted the subtitle of that video series to be demystifying DSA, demystifying PSL. Because when I first got onto the scene and started documenting stuff, I was shaking a lot of hands and like learning stories and enjoying that process. And then I was obviously learning that these people were parts of organizations. And I don't know if I've just been propagandized, but I've heard some weird stuff about PSL and how, and I experienced it. Unfortunately I experienced it. And I wish I didn't so I could be more neutral. But someone's like, yeah, they're very tribalistic. They use different words for it. But the word I would use is tribalistic. And I asked a PSL person.
I mean, like I don't know,
Yeah.
more than like most people, but they're like second campus, like Marxist-Leninists, like, you know,
Yes,
orthodox, pro-China, pro-North Korea kind of stuff.
You were
pro-Cuba.
telling me about
Yep.
their funding, I thought.
I don't know anything about that.
Oh, okay. I guess I was talking to somebody other
I
than
wouldn't know
Peter,
either.
but somebody was telling me they are funded heavily by a billionaire from China, which is why they can afford like to be everywhere and afford all their shirts and trucks and stuff like that.
Yeah, dude, I'm so impressed that more political organizations, like, I know DSA actually has something like this, but not all of them do, and like the minority of them do. I wish these motherfuckers would just publish all of their economic data. Just so you know we're not funded by some fucking conspiracy bullshit. So people can just like look at it and be like, oh yeah, it's like mostly weird donations and like this one dude that like founded it. Okay, cool. But PSL, I've had people describe them as like tribalistic, and there was a time when I like asked them, I was like, hey, and I wasn't like recording, I had my gear on, but like I was asking just like person to person. I was just like, hey, what are some like policies that your org particularly like supports that are kind of different from some of the other ones here? And they were like, yeah, you have to come to a meeting. And I was like, I'm not going to do that, gang. Like I'm actually not going to do that. You're like out here, can't you like tell me? Like someone? Like I was like, oh, do you have like a media liaison or something? And they're like, no, you got to come to a meeting. And I'm like, I'm scared. Actually, I'm actually very scared. I don't want to do that. Not because I think they're like MLs are crazy. I have a lot of ML friends and like a lot of Marxist friends, especially less MLs. But no, it's not that. It's just like, surely you can tell me you're here protesting. Like you could probably tell me like, what is your org about a little bit? And they just like, yeah, they kind of did this weird thing where it's just like, I did a video once on the CIA's simple guide to sabotage. It's called the Simple Sabotage Field Manual, and it's from like the 60s in the Cold War. And it's a document that tells you like how to effectively sabotage an organization or other people. And one of the go-to rules is like, yo, if someone asks you what you're about, redirect them to another motherfucker. They'll give up. And so when they did that, I was like, oh, come on, guys. Like, but that's another one. What else? There's DAWA, which is Denver Anti-War Action. That's like, it's got a lot of veterans in it. It's got a lot of people who have lost people in war in it. There's like Aurora Unidos, which is like that's a pretty baller organization. Aurora Unidos like does a lot of stuff. They do mutual aid, they do protesting, they do stuff for like canvassing, they do like all of it. And they're not like you know, Democrat establishment bot or anything. They're kind of just doing their shit, which I kind of think is cool. Who else? What am I? Denver Against Machines. I don't know if you've ever heard about this group. Very
Oh yeah, have I ever heard about them?
I'm trying to think of some others. What are some? Well, like there's like Students Demand Action. This is interesting. And it's a great example of like why they're new to recent politics, but they're an org that has existed for a long time, like a decade or several, like a few.
No, I'm thinking of Colorado Youth Coalition.
No, that's somewhat new. That's like this past decade. But Students Demand Action is a high schooler organized student activist organization that has policies specifically about gun violence. And like just, you know, high schooler policies that affect high schoolers and teenagers. I interviewed one of their representatives as a teacher in that kid's district. It was a very funny experience. They're a cool little organization. They're all student-led. What else? What are some others I've run into? There's like another one that's like DAWA, but it's not DAWA. There's another anti-war organization in Denver. Obviously the big ones, 5051, which kind of did its thing and low-key dipped. Like, they're still here, but like they kind of did their boom bust cycle is completed.
There's the Colorado Bridge Trolls, folks.
Oh, the Bridge Trolls rock. Those motherfuckers. See, I'm just, like,
I don't like their AI logo.
I'm just like, they're cool. Oh yeah, I noticed that issue. Wasn't there another one? DENCOM, Denver Communists. Dencom, I saw one of their little tents. They had an AI logo, and I'm like, God damn it! Some 50-year-old in the group put that up and didn't realize, or something like that. And then there's another one. This is very interesting. There's Denver Communists, and then there's like Denver Communists for Liberation. I don't think that's actually the name, but it's like it's got the word Revolutionary Communists.
RCA.
DRC, Denver Revolutionary Communists. RCA, Revolutionary Communists or something. So there's different communist organizations, but notably, despite me like identifying with it, there are no anarchist organizations. Because we would never fucking tell anyone. Are you kidding? Are we stupid? Why the fuck would we tell anyone?
I mean, I think we're a little too disorganized to have any organizations to tell anybody about anyway. But that's the point. It's decentralized.
I was talking to some degree, right? But I was talking with someone, and they were like, Spencer, you should just start an anarchist organization. And I'm like, no! The whole point is to not. Like, the whole point is to educate each other and not treat anarchism as a party. Anarchism is a philosophy that you can cherry pick, and we're okay with it. Please do. Like, figure out how it's useful to you and learn. I don't care if you call yourself something.
There's one more party I wanted to ask you about. Have you run in with the ACP?
The MAGA communist guys.
AC? Oh, the American Communist Party. Do they have a presence in Denver?
A small one.
Yeah, there's a couple guys that we met at a protest.
Motherfuckers. So interesting.
They do a lot of mutual aid work.
Someone was telling me about that. Yeah. I don't like. We were talking about the political meta, and I'm not deep into electoralism and electoral politics and who's running, and I just hate everything about it. It's so corporate, and it just gives me the ick, unfortunately. I just totally lost my train of thought. I was talking about electoral politics. I can't fucking remember. What did you just mention?
The MAGA communists.
The MAGA. Oh yeah. There are so many people, and I wanted to mention someone, and I'm low-key gonna name drop her because this shit was crazy. Do you remember maybe in the subreddit if you were in it? And I don't use Reddit much anymore at all. I'm kind of stepping away from it. I need to grow the fuck up, in my personal opinion, and just get out of it. But there was this person running for governor, Colorado governor, for this election cycle, who kept beefing with every organization possible. And they kept spamming the subreddit, being like, "These motherfuckers are dangerous. You can't trust them," because they didn't endorse her. I just saw that she dropped out of the gubernatorial race, and she was just kind of low-key having manic episodes on the subreddit and just kind of crashing out.
I missed that.
And it was kind of funny. But also, I was messaging her, very earnest. I can't help it sometimes. I'm just kind of honest, and I'm like, hey, listen, I'm not gonna comment on medicalizing your mental health, but I think this is a really bad way to organize. Just so you know, I don't know what you're about, and all I ever see from you are videos of you saying PSL is evil, FRSO is evil, DSA is evil because yada yada, and I'm like, dude, I don't know a single one of your policies, and that's me getting into it too much too. The communist, the MAGA communist thing, it's so hard to tell how seriously they're taking themselves, and I blame Alex Jones completely. Why? Just because I don't know anymore. Some motherfuckers go deep in that shit. They they're I don't know if I'm Batman or Bruce Wayne anymore. Which one's the real one, right? I get that they're very much a deconstruction. That's what their org is. They're a deconstruction of both concepts. But I start thinking about the optics, and I fucking hate optics. But I start thinking about the optics, and I'm like, what is your actual goal? What are you actually trying to do?
One of the founders has said, do it for the clout.
Okay, right? It's and I'm thinking back to that person that was running for governor, who she got she had this thing happen on social media where she got very publicized, and she was in California or some rural state, I can't remember anymore. And then she moved to Colorado to do this gubernatorial race. And if you look at how many people are running for governor right now, it was like 37 or something.
Wow.
And this happens in every election cycle. But you got to ask yourself, like, 90% of you aren't actually trying to become governor. You're trying to be seen. What are you doing with that being seen? I want to know, like, what is your goal? And that's just the quiet part thing. It's like, I want to trick people into being honest. I want people to be honest. I'm so sick of living in a world where everyone lies about everything. Everything. I could probably write a video essay just on, like, the culture of lying in America and the fact that it is a default. Like, come on. Every motherfucker you've ever met has lied on their resume slightly, right? Or, like, every motherfucker you've ever met has lied in a social, like, professional setting. What would the world be like if we got to one where people didn't have to lie to survive? What would that look like? What would we have to do? To some degree, this channel is an attempt to make that to show what that looks like. What happens when you're just extremely honest about things? Because like if you were to ask me, like, you know, specific stuff about the DSA or PSL, I'd be like, I don't fucking know. I'm not gonna like make up guesses. I just don't fucking know. That's okay. Like, and I can know if I'm asked to, but I don't know at this moment. I just want to live in a world where people are just honest about shit.
So we've done a lot of work documenting the political meta, the various organizations here, trying to give people a platform. We've gotten a lot into the political meta, what's fucked up with it. So what patch updates do you think the meta needs next for Denver?
I need the average person in an activist organization to know more about, like, about history, but specifically the shit that has the most impact. Like, what is it? Like, pack for punch or whatever, pound for pound or whatever. I want people to know more shit about things. I'll just say the things. I want the average, like, person in Denver to know what Castle Rock versus Gonzalez is. I want them to know that policing in America is discretionary and police don't actually have a duty to serve or protect. And that's not just like an opinion. That's like a 90-page document you can read from the Supreme Court. And like the other document, Citizens United versus FEC, I want the average activist in Denver to know, hey, lobbying exists and it didn't used to be like this.
Corporations
This is
are
like an
people
our
now.
generation thing. Corporations are people. That's what Citizens United rule is, that corporations are people and that they can speak through investment, specifically something called independent expenditures. You can form a nonprofit, and as long as you technically are a nonprofit and you don't make profit, if you have $1 billion, you can dump it into the nonprofit, and so long as they spend all of it on campaign advertisements, it's still a nonprofit, and they're allowed to say, vote for this person, vote for that person. Elon, I forget which primary it was. Elon was doing this. You know when he was giving out people like $1 million if they register to vote? He did that. He legally did that, actually. And people are looking at that and they're like, that's disgusting. That's corrupt. Dude, that's the default.
It's
that
legal.
is the default.
It just is legal.
It is so long as people don't know that there was a decision in the mid-2000s that made this happen, they won't know that, in fact, we could actually undo this whenever the fuck we felt like. If the next president is Democrat and just packs the fuck out of the Supreme Court, they could push that shit to be undone, and we would never have to deal with this level of, like, Elon Muskism ever again. Or at least we could get some breathing room to make more change after that, right? So if there needs to be a patch, I need people to start reading their actual legislation and understanding what, if we want to tear this shit down, or if we want to build it better, whatever. If you're an accelerationist, if you're a gradualist, is what I would call everyone else. That really makes it sound like I'm an accelerationist, doesn't it? I actually don't know which I am. But, well, I know what I am. I'm going to make a video on it. It's called punctuated equilibrium, but that's complicated. But whether you want to tear that shit down or you just want to reinforce what's failing, you got to find out what the obvious route of infection is. This is not a good time to be talking about that. But you got to find, like, what is the vent that you can fucking solid snake your way into to get into this shit and make the biggest impact with the littlest harm. And the obvious shit is, like, if we can overturn Citizens United versus FEC, we can just castrate the ability of people like Elon Musk to do what he does. And also, all of these establishment Democrats, all these establishment Republicans, they would be fucked the millisecond that you make it so these independent expenditures can't fund campaigns anymore.
Yeah. Well.
I think we're gonna wrap up in just a second. One of the final notes I like to end these podcasts on. I mean, this is just the second one, but I'm trying to make it a thing. Focusing on what community means to people. So for the people of Denver, for the people across the world, how do they get involved in community?
I found that the anecdote of the community garden resonates with me really hard. The community garden in my neighborhood forced me to speak with my neighbors in a way that I had never done before. It is so easy in American suburbia, and we weren't even that suburban, but it is so easy in American suburbia for average working people to go home after a long day, scroll on their phone for a bit, and I'm sounding very boomery, but it's very easy to go home, close the door, and hide. It's very easy to do that in middle class America. Even lower middle class, and beyond, working class America. All you want to do is you get off work, you've worked a 40-hour fucking week, you barely got paid, your rent is still due, you don't have savings, you can't afford health care. What are you going to do? You're going to go home, you're going to lay in your fucking bed because everything sucks, right? But as long as that is what your eyes are seeing in front of you, as long as that's all you ever see, it's going to be hard to imagine anything else. And so, joining a community garden or just walking around your neighborhood and telling yourself, I'm going to talk to someone today. I'm going to remember that the houses next to me aren't wood. There are human flesh bags in there with lives as vivid and complicated as my own. And it's a corporatized word, but the word is sonder. The realization that you are a background character to everyone else just as much as they're a background character to you. And then you realize there is no main character. It's just a story. And everyone's in it. And you have to live together. So if a person can find a community garden in their local neighborhood, do that shit ASAP. If you don't have one, throw some seeds in some dirt and walk the fuck away, right? And if that's not it either, just go to a protest. As much as I think protests aren't technically effective at doing the thing that people think they're good for, they're extremely effective at getting you to meet people like you who care about your well-being and are willing to get off their asses to go do at least one thing, right? I think it's extremely pro-social to go outside and touch grass as much as possible.
That was a great answer.
Real shit.
It's an honor being background characters in the life of Spencer.
Oh, that was poetic as fuck.
That was pretty good.
Well, I'm grateful to have met you. Peter, I think I've seen you in person maybe once.
Yeah, I think once or twice.
JoJo, I've seen you plenty of times. Yeah, but I'm grateful to have known either of you. And I mean, honestly, when a protest is happening and shit's going down, I can always look and be like, I wonder what JoJo's doing. And then I can just kind of be like, hell yeah, JoJo's doing JoJo shit right now. And it's comforting. Even just that relationship alone, it's hey, if something really goes wrong, I know what JoJo looks like. And I can be like, oh shit. And be like, hey, something just happened. Or that time you guys need an SD card or something. Or something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But
Came in
yeah,
clutch.
I can just take this shit. I don't need this. It's 32 gigs. Fucking take it, right? There is something so empowering about realizing that the social relationships we build between each other are infinitely more able to impact our lives than whining on the internet. I say as I whine on the internet.
All right,
Real
well
shit.
let's get off the internet. Let's stop whining then. That was incredible.
It's a good idea.
Thank you, man. That was a great podcast.
Cool.
Appreciate
Thank you for
what
talking
you're
with me
doing
and
out there.
tolerating me and my craziness.
Do you want to give a shout out to your
appreciate you
YouTube
both
channel
doing.
or anything?
Yeah, shout out. It's The Quiet Part here on YouTube.com. Just The Quiet Part. That's what I do. I make all kinds of videos about all kinds of stuff. My focus is learning as much as I can. That's it.
Great
All
stuff.
right. Yeah, next time we'll have you on the podcast to talk more about accelerationism. We needed to get more into that.
Yeah. Oh, I need to make that video. It's going to be peak. It's going to be so good. All right.
For
All right.
sure.
Cheers,
All right.
man.